Are you thinking about how to stay connected this year during the holidays while everyone is separated? This week on Motivation and Confidence, we're going to give you 3 tips to stay connected off social media. Stay tuned. All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. And before we go any further, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you have chose to spend about 20 minutes or so with us, so we definitely appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and share. And as a matter of fact, if you could please just right now forward or share this episode with 2 people that you love, or even better, forward this with 2 people that you haven't spoke to this year, and let them know that you're thinking about them. And here's where we're going with this. This week we're going to talk about 3 ways to stay connected with friends and family during the lockdown, or apparent lockdown, or the limitation of travel that we're going to have during this holiday season. And I always like to start with a story. And I remember growing up as a kid, with my grandparents, we used to travel down south to family reunions. And it was a long drive going from New York to North Carolina. I think it was about, my grandfather, as he would say, he would put his foot on, no, he would just put his foot on the gas, and we would do it in about 10 hours flat. So that ride was something interesting. And during that ride, we would take an old station wagon. It was actually my uncle's car. And it would be my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, my sister, sometimes my aunt, and myself. And we're all packed in this station wagon. Now, I was the lucky one, because I had to sit in the back with the furniture, with the luggage. So it would be this little tiny space, and I would just slide in the back. And I had one of those football games with like the LED screen, so it was no graphics. It was just like a little stick, like you hit the stick ball and it like bounced across the screen from one side to the other. And after about 30 minutes, you'd be bored out of your mind. And of course, my granddad would be listening to Thelonious Monk or some type of jazz, and I'd be bored out of my mind. You know, I'm a young kid. I'm into rap music. Run DMC was out, so I wanted to listen to Peter Piper or Public Enemy or something like that, but he wasn't trying to hear that hibbity hop, beebity bebop inside of his car because he thought it was noise. And my grandmother would make peanut butter crackers, and we would have sardines, and sometimes if we were lucky, we had some chips. And she would get these little cans of V8 juice. And if I were lucky, she had some apple juice or grapefruit juice. But you could imagine, you know, in the car, 10 hours, the only time we really stopped was to fuel up. And I think maybe it would be twice that we stopped. But it would be a straight ride. And, you know, no candy, nothing like that. I didn't have a Walkman or CD player, so I had to listen to the music that was being played. And just watching the different cars go by. We would play like Punch Buggy or something like that if you've seen certain cars. And as you're driving down, you're going down a turnpike, and you just see from buildings to nothing but green and highway. And this is what we would do in order for us to connect with family. And once we got there, we would stay at, I want to say, my cousin Emma's house. And we would stay with my cousins Frida and Deltwan, right? And when you first got down there, coming from New York, you know, they say to you, well, why do you have that New York accent? And you say, well, why do you have that Southern accent? And we would go back and forth, and we would look each other up and down about our styles and all that other stuff. But it was then how we connected with family. So we never flew on a plane. We traveled in a car, and it was the Culp Wilson family reunion. And it would be people somewhere in the ballpark of, I want to say at least 100 to 200 people. And we would rent out it's like a recreation area inside of a park. And we'd have the park all to ourselves that entire day. And to me, it just felt kind of weird because you've never seen these people before. And it'd be like a picnic set up, and you could get hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff to drink, and they had activities. And in my mind, it would seem as if people were strangers. But, you know, one of my other cousins, they look and go like, no, that's your cousin. You don't, this is not strangers. Like, they're all family. And thinking back about it, I probably only experienced it, I want to say in my lifetime, about 5 times. But it was a way for us to connect with extended family. The only way we would do it was, you know, you got in that car, you took that ride, and you got down there and you connected with people that you never really met before. Fortunate enough, the family was so big that there were always people within your age group. And we would stay down there for about 2 weeks. And even though things were really slow and it had cows and bulls that would come out, like the cows and stuff would come out in the middle of the night, the mosquitoes were so bad that we would have to burn hay and like old rags just to create like a smoldering fire or smoke to keep the mosquitoes away. And when the fire blared up, we would have to take a whiz or take a piss inside the barrel to make the fire go down. Just wild stuff that we would do as kids. And I also remember like the movies down there being only $1, right? So they would drive us to the movie theater, and like we would never do that in New York. Like your parents wouldn't just take you to the movie theater and just leave you there, you know, at 9, 10 years old. Like, no, you better have your older cousin go with you. But out there, you're like, no, we go to the movie theater. It's $1 movie. If there's nothing to do on a Saturday, we're going to drop you off at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'll be back at 8 o'clock at night to pick you up because the adults would go bowling. Mm-hmm. And that was a really fun time. It was very memorable. And just the feeling of connecting with family that I never met before, it felt a little uncomfortable at first, but then looking back at it, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do it. Because when you think about times like this, it's sort of like, well, what are you to do, right? So the first thing that some of us may think of is just like, oh yeah, just hop on social media. And honestly, I wouldn't even do the social media thing because, again, the social media is sort of like a highlight reel. So it's just snapshots of what's going on in people's lives. And depending on the platform that you're on, some of the highlights, they look really, really good. Then you have some other platforms that are just, in my opinion, that are deserving of a doctor or somebody that's a therapist to analyze what people are going through. Because some people just pour out their sorrows and all their worries and woe is me and all that stuff. So I wouldn't make a blanket statement and just say, hey, let's connect with family and friends over social media, because there's a whole bunch of background noise behind everything that's on social media. Now, I think some cool things that we could do, and let me stay on topic here. So beyond social media, there are various apps where you can set up private chats. You could always do your Zooms. At one time in my family, we did have family Zoom calls at least once a month. Really cool. But something to be mindful of is that try to make it light and fun. Make it to where the family can get together and maybe trade recipes, and you try to make a different dish right on the Zoom. You don't necessarily want it to be a venting moment. Some people get on there and they start drinking, and if 2 people start having a certain conversation, it's just the typical family drama that you go through, and you don't want to go through that during this time of year. You just want to be connected by being able to see people visually and to hear their voice and to create memories together. It's sort of like, while we may not be able to be together physically, our virtual connection is now stronger than ever. Very important too, if you have elder people in your household or elder people who are in other states, try to make sure that you get someone else younger to hook up their phones or hook up their laptops or whatever so that they can log on so that you can see them, because they definitely appreciate hearing our voices, hearing their family voices, hearing from their friends. So while they may not be that advanced in technology, you could definitely do that. Another cool thing that you could do with your family is definitely do TikToks, right? You could do TikToks and do duets. Think of a favorite song that you guys had in your family, and each family member can get together in a group in a room, two different families, two different sides, and sing a song, and you guys could share that with each other. Also, like when it comes to food, if Cousin May makes the best sweet potato pie, is putting together that money so that she can buy the supplies and ship each of us a pie. How good would that be? Cousin Emma makes the pies and then ships it to us. I know I have a cousin that's in South Carolina that bakes cakes, and I know she will ship anywhere within the U.S. So another way to stay connected is through sharing recipes and being able to cook together and to bond together. Another thing that I would recommend is prayer time. And I don't really talk about that, but it'll be really cool. And even if you're not into prayer, maybe some sort of meditation, or just sitting together in silence for a few minutes to feel that connection, to feel that energy. And the most important thing that you can do during this time while we are away from each other is share stories. Because while we are making a story by being together, we can always learn the stories of what happened during a time when an elder was growing up, or learn something about another family member that you didn't know, and try to keep an outline of activities. You want to avoid having it just being open-ended to where people can just get on there and ramble, because again, once you start mixing the alcohol and the stuff that make people relax and they get online, a lot of people become gangsters once that phone start to roll and it's no physical space in between each other. People start talking reckless and all that. So you want to keep everything with light and love. And that's what I would recommend. So that's my spiel. Even though we're apart, we're together. If you have other ideas that you would recommend, I would love to hear about it. As always, you can email me directly, tommydanger@gmail.com, TOMMYDANGER@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out the website, tomdanger.com, and follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter, @TomDanger. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.